all very grateful. So I told them we were doing this little memory for her this afternoon, and they're just very, very happy that we've all come together. Offering, and Nityananda's going to film it for the family. So Vyasaki.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I came to LA from Toronto. In '74, I was at the Toronto Temple, and when the winter hit Canada, I left the Canadian winter, came to LA. And that's when I met Chaitanya Dasi around January 1975. And they were getting a bhajan band together, so I volunteered and I was accepted. Chaitanya Dasi, I think, organized it because she was playing harmonium and singing, so it was her little group. Remember Alambana?
Yeah.
He played sitar, and a few other people, I don't remember. So that's when I first met her, through the musical thing, and we became friends. And I remember one time we were talking about cooking, and I told her about one prep. I don't remember what it was, but she said, "Why don't you come over to my house and cook it?" And so I came over to her house, cooked the prep. Later on, I heard she was telling everybody she couldn't believe the mess I left. There was no deal about cleaning, only about cooking. But anyway. And then in 1982, for the Rath Yatra Festival, we got together ISKCON's first rock band. We had drums and kit drums and Esraj. You know, I played harmonium and sang. Chaitanya Dasi sang. There was a bass player, guitar player. It was a real band. And a lot of devotees loved it, but the sannyasis, they freaked because they'd never seen a man and a woman singing together in ISKCON. It was our first experience of men and women singing together. So, but anyway, then through the years, we saw each other on and off and this and that. We became friends. I knew her kids when they were like 3 years old, Gandhari and Draupadi. And so we just remained friends over the years, and then gradually she ended up marrying Rakshana, and then she ended up moving to Alachua. And I, of course, I didn't stay that long in LA in '75 because I went to India in August. So I only saw her from time to time. We just renewed our friendship, but I don't recall any other experiences that we had beyond the music and the cooking.
Wonderful.
And the mess making.
Yeah, and making the mess. You'll go down in history. Kaitaji?
Well, the first remembrance that I have, it might have been before, but I don't know. The first remembrance was 1976, I think. I met Chaitanya Dasi at that time. The first time I even saw her, I was in the temple room for the last party. Everybody was asleep because at that time everybody was just asleep. But I was visiting LA and or doing something at the Spanish community, and for a month or something like that. And then when I was in the temple room, she came into the temple room when the party started, and she started singing. And just hearing her voice, which was extraordinary. She had a very unique voice. But many people have unique voices. But what struck me was her devotion, her speaking, or her speaking to Krishna, calling out to Krishna. It was a calling out to Krishna, and she was doing a very beautiful melody and singing Hare Krishna for the last arti. And so she sang through the whole arti. And I was mesmerized. I went to her and said, "What's your name?" And it's just, what you did was so beautiful. And she told me who she was and this and that. And then that's when we kind of met. And this is the first encounter that I had with Chaitanya. And I remember that she was with her two little girls, the twins, and the third girl hadn't gone yet, but she was living there. And I didn't see her so much because I was busy. But then I came back in 1976, and she was living in the yellow building with the girls. And then now she had a room or something like that. I don't exactly remember. But she was on white. And I didn't know what had happened to her. I later found out. She was doing Sankirtan, and she was a book distributor. And she had the apartment, and they had provided that, and she was going out every day to do book distribution. And that's how she maintained and she did service. And she was, of course, doing many other musical things because that was her call. And she was also, she had the ability to be so artistic. She was also doing plays with the Dwarka players. Whenever there was something, she would participate. And but she was struggling, and what I remember Chaitanya the most is that she had a very difficult and hard life in many ways, but she was a staunch devotee. She had, it was amazing how she was so deep in her devotion, and she was so light about it. She was like, no, it's nothing to go home about, but we who were observing her could tell that, and that was the quality that she had through her life, and that's what I most appreciated. She was a good friend, she was funny, she was talented, she was extraordinary. So, well, these are just some few things that I remember. Maybe after I hit everybody else, then I can remember something else.
Yeah, and just feeling to pop in. You don't have to be so
She always did the dramas. She really
dramas.
loved it. She was expert actress.
She was the best kind.
This is the picture of her as Kai Kei. I believe she was in her 30s. She's just gorgeous. And she was such a good Kai Kei, you just hated her. So much of anger because she was chastising Dasarath. I forget who was playing Dasarath. But she was so expert.
She was.
Her and Sama, they could play Kai Kei and Supernaka and all the...
And also her demeanor was, she would be like on stage all the time. Her emotions and her things were expressed with gusto and succulence, so we could not miss what she was trying to say.
Yeah.
I remember she, in her astrology, she had Aries, and she was a fiery character.
Yeah.
She was to be heard.
Yeah.
She wasn't silent.
Yeah. She was on
Dasi. She was
probably
going to be
gave her a
heard.
very interesting Pranada?
I'm gonna wait.
Okay. Rangavati.
Oh, wow. Well, I didn't really meet Chaitanya Dasi until Alachua, and that was in, I guess, the 90s. I knew her in LA, but I didn't know her. Because, I just didn't. But when she came to Alachua, she was probably in her 50s, I guess. And her life was a drama.
Yeah.
I think that's why she could do so well with dramas, because she had all that experience and there was always some drama going on in Chaitanya Dasi's life, always. And not just minor things, like major problems.
Absolutely.
really major problems, and I would just think, phew, I couldn't do all that. But she somehow was very vocal. She didn't hold things in with anybody. I mean, she kind of would, press a lot of buttons. And she really didn't care, but she did care. She internalized a lot of that stuff. And the most remarkable thing to me about Chaitanya Dasi was, in spite of all that drama, in spite of all that trouble and constant, she, I don't think, ever once in her life deviated from her devotion to Prabhupada.
Right.
Not for a minute. I thought, how do you do that? I mean, she would get slammed, and then slammed, and then slammed, and then slammed, and slammed. And there she was with her big tattoos, come on. Yeah, devotion, Lord Chaitanya, and just almost like, bring it on.
Yeah.
If this is what I have to do to get to you, bring it on. And that was the most, I think, profound and striking feature of Chaitanya Dasi. And I'm sure many devotees have it, but it was clearly witnessed by her.
Yeah. Shrita, you were saying how you knew her in LA.
Yeah, actually, thanks to Facebook Messenger, I go back to 2010 in conversations with her, which I didn't even remember having so many conversations. But
She was like one of your biggest fans on Facebook. Everything you would post,
she was always there. And again, she wasn't afraid to tell you your shortcomings, despite because of how much she loved you, So that's what I was seeing here, and I'll get to that in a minute. I'll have to go through, because some of the things she says are pretty far out. And she talks about wanting to go to Puri and how it didn't work out. We know how much she loved. It's all she ever, that's all you kept on seeing was about Puri, even though she lived there. Is what happened was, I wrote her, I said, because she had gotten all her things stolen or something. That's what she said, lost. She said, not lost, she said stolen. So I wanted to send her $50 through PayPal. And it was at the same time when something happened, and I sent you money, and I sent her something. So I said, did you get it? She said, I didn't get your message. I did not, she puts in quote marks. She's talking to me, but she put it in quote marks. I did not lose my things. Somebody stole them. But I know that's what you meant. I was really traumatized during my stay in Vrindavan due to the weather. Everything being torn down, the roads all messed up. All of Vrindavan is so intense. Plus, I missed my flight. I really got smashed during my 6 months in the Dams. I learned my lessons. I belong in the USA. I wanted to try out living in Puri, which is why I went for the summer. Oh, man. She went for the summer. She didn't pick the best time to go.
In January, but
what she told me was that if she could make it through the summer,
She could. Oh, that was she picked the worst part.
Not everybody can make it through.
Yeah.
it was way too much for her.
I wanted to experience Rath Yatra there. You sound in better spirits now. This was, I guess, a few months after Mekhala had died. Yeah, a few months after Mekhala had died. And speaking your Prabhupada Katha, glad things are improving for you. And I said something in another year, let's see what she said. She was talking about herself, and she said, I was referring to the fact that Prabhupada said that I was my husband's better half, and the fact that Prabhupada disowned Kanapriya. She would like to talk about Kanapriya. Kenny Rich, she said, now Kenny Rich. So she's funny, everything, she's very funny. In other words, since the wife is supposed to be the one to inspire the husband, etc., I guess I did a bad job as a wife. This was meant in jest. I hope you're having a great time in Nepal. Then later on, she says to me after Mekhala died and I got married, she says, well, and she mentioned someone else that at my age that had a child, got married young. She says, well, I hope you don't get to have a child like him. So she just came right out and said, he has a 7-month-old son with a 35-year-old woman. So now she's giving it to me,
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that I saved this. I didn't even know it was there. Yeah, and she says one other thing, and I'm getting to it, Vyasaki, because she talks about both of us. Anyway, you seem to have really good karma. She's thinking of her own life here. You know, I'm bouncing around doing all these things, and somehow, by Prabhupada's mercy, I come out, it seems like things are good. And she's saying, I just keep getting beaten down, and I'm not getting anywhere. But she was so good, like you say. She never left Prabhupada's feet, never. Anyway, you seem to have really good karma and common sense to not have another kid at this point in life. Wishing you all the best, Hare Krishna. She's being really curt with me now. She's not happy with me. I say, I didn't, but I don't read signals very well sometimes. And to you too as well, Hare Krishna. And then I say, I remember that guy. Anyway, we won't talk about that.
Yeah.
Oh, and then she says, well, I once slapped him in the face, but I truly liked the guy. I said, that's auspicious, and not exactly, exclamation. But you were a good friend. She says, something I realized about both you and Vyasaki, who I used to be close to as a brother.
Uh-oh, used to be.
Well, you just don't see each other. No, what she wasn't saying in it. You both did not grow up with fathers, and thus your mothers were most important in your lives. I understand the need for you both to have nurturing support and love from a woman, and I gave up my being judgmental upon you both. So she gave us a blessing for us.
Well, not exactly.
Not exactly.
We have
But
another story.
the Lord loves us and wants us back with Him, so He allows us to have what we need in order to get back to Him. He sure made many allowances for His disciples. Make the best use of a bad bargain, He wrote to Arundhati. I always remember that one. I need the well wishes. I said, wishing you always the best, my very dear sister. Said, I need the well wishes of everyone at this stage of my life. Same to you, Shruta Jai Prabhupada. That was it. That was 2015. I met her.
We were in Puri together here when they were building the carts. It was April, so it was kind of hot then, and she was trying to do that 6-month thing. And they generally don't let foreigners in the pandal where they make the carts, but we had been seeing this man many days, and we brought Mahaprasada for all the cart builders. So we asked him, could we just have one little bit of sign? So got this iconic shot, which went into all the newspapers, and we told them Srila Prabhupada was our spiritual master, and I'm on the other side. I didn't put my picture in there, but she just loved being in Puri, anything related to Lord Jagannath. And every day, we'd go around Jagannath Mandir and stand in front of Patita Pavan. There's kind of like a prayer circle there, and people are just talking to Jagannath like he's a family friend. Jagannath is really the family lord in Puri, and so we would do that every day. And we would have these little Sunday feast programs. There was a little Jagannath temple on the sea, and they were letting the foreigners in. Really beautiful Jagannath temple on City Road. And we'd go out to the road with mantra cards, and we would just give out mantra cards to different, like I guess you would say like travelers, hippie types, and invite them back to the little temple there. And she would chant. We had a nice big chair for Prabhupada. We'd invite the press, and we'd sing, and then we'd have buy a bunch of Jagannath Mahaprasadam, and we'd pass that out as the Sunday feast. And I just remember getting so intoxicated with her, so much Jagannath Prasadam, and everybody was laughing, and they carried away their mantra card.
I'll just
You
pick up,
wanted, I was just
pick
gonna,
up from
He has to say something.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So
It's the context.
we did have a brother and sister relationship that was really close for years, and then I married Kishori. And after I married Kishori, I came to Alachua, and Chaitanya Dasi saw me. She walked right up to me and said, "Don't tell me!" and she, I don't forget what it was, but something about you're with this young girl.
oh,
So that kind of,
ruined
yeah,
the thing a
she
little
was like
bit.
really kaikei,
Yeah,
She's good.
But
absolutely.
anyway,
Russian character.
Yeah.
Dina
But we
Bandu?
were close for
She
so
wasn't the
long.
only one, I assure you.
Sorry?
She
Yeah.
wasn't the only one that was thinking that way.
But we've lasted
Oh, wow.
17 years.
Yeah,
I know.
somehow or another, it's been, and they preach everywhere.
She's your better half.
Dina Bandu, we know you're not feeling so well today, but would you like to share something about
When
Chaitanya?
did she join?
70 in LA.
In Santa Barbara.
No, actually, she started it, yeah.
Santa Barbara, I
And she
remember.
started a temple in Trinidad.
Yes, she
Also,
went to
early days,
Trinidad.
remember?
She
Yes.
did
The
go,
little
yeah.
preaching, and
remember
her
her
voice attracted so many people, guests to the program.
Unfortunately, my memories go so far back that I don't remember it.
Oh, okay.
But I
Don't pop and don't tell it.
Yeah.
was in 1969. I was in Boulder, and it was snowing, and they didn't have any money for warm clothes, so they sent me to LA to get trained up. So I don't remember if I saw her at that time or not. But then later, I stayed in LA Temple in probably end of 71 and most of 72 until I went to be September we went to be president of Portland, Oregon. But I'm sure she's probably the first woman in ISKCON that had twins.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause that's most of my memories of Chaitanya Dasi were their two little twins.
Yeah.
And of course I remember Kanapriya, but we won't speak about it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm interrupting you.
Huh.
But
Oh.
Dina Bandu's beating
Sorry.
you.
I don't, I didn't have much, I just appreciated her voice like anything.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
She was very expert on tambura, mridanga, harmonium. She played the flute. She had like a little bamboo flute. And she just was very musically endowed. And she really loved the bhajans of Srila Bhakti-Vinod Thakur and Srila Narottam Das Thakur. When we were in Puri, we would go see Tota Gopinath almost every other day, and she would sit there and sing in front of Tota Gopinath and just blow everybody away. They couldn't believe this white foreigner lady. Gaur Purnima and Alachwa, did you join your women's groups sometimes?
No, I met her in 2001 in Alachua, and she invited me to a dance party. It's kind of unusual. And then I knew her over the years that I was there, but then 2.5 years ago I met her in Udupi, and she had just completed 3 months with Dr. Shiv Kumar. And so she was very raw, she was very vulnerable. So she sat me down on a bench and she pretty much told me her whole life story. I don't remember the details so well, but I do remember that she emphatically said how much she loved her daughters and her children. And that was 2.5 years ago. So I don't think I might have seen her a few times since then, but we probably spent about an hour and a half going through her whole life. And then she just gave me a big hug and just appreciated that I was there to listen to her.
Speaking of her daughters, Gandhari sent me a little offering this morning. You want to read it, Krishna?
I don't have my glasses.
Dearest Mata, thank you for being my Mata for 47 years. I miss you very much, and I'm very sad that you are no longer a part of my life. This past month has been very hard dealing with your passing. You know, Chaitanya was in the hospital 2 to 3 weeks prior to her leaving, and Gandhari and Draupadi were there every day, every night, dealing and also addressing devotees, communicating with them over Chaitanya all over the world. I wish I had been able to help you more and ease your suffering. I always tried to be a good daughter and hope you are proud of me. Anjali, that's Gandhari's 7-year-old daughter, Chaitanya's granddaughter, misses having her grandma here very much. She really wanted you to watch her first ballet recital this week. Oh. Hope you can be there in spirit. I made sure you left your body in a glorious way. I was holding your hand, and I had my hand on your chest. You were surrounded by your god sisters, Draupadi, and I. We placed Vrindavan dust, tulsi, and holy water on you. You were wearing tilak, maha garlands, and Srila Prabhupada was chanting in your ear. I do not feel that you suffered the last hour of your life. You seemed at peace as you took your last few breaths. You are no longer stuck in your material body that gave you so much pain and suffering. You wanted to be detached from material life, and you lived your life preparing yourself for death. I am so glad I was there with you until the very end. We had a very nice memorial for you and a big feast. Dhruva Mirabai also came with Rakshana. I don't know if all of you know, our godbrother Rakshana has very severe dementia now, and he's not really cognizant of what's going on around him.
Where is he?
He's in North Carolina, and Dhruva is taking care of him, which is really good for Dhruva because he still has some psychological problems from his accident. So it's very difficult. I'm sure any of you who have taken care of, been a caregiver for someone who's in that.
Taking care of who?
His father, Rakshana.
Rakshana. Oh, Rakshana.
Remember Rakshana? He was Prabhupada's bodyguard for a little while. So he was sitting in the Alatra Memorial, from what I understand, he was sitting next to Chaitanya's picture, but he didn't really know where he was, but the twins were just trying to tell him, and on some level maybe he understood. But Dhruva, the son, has made it his mission to take care of his father until death, which is really remarkable. Everyone shared such wonderful memories of you. Also in Los Angeles, Jaganambika and Ratnabhushana, they had a wonderful memorial breakfast for you. And so many of your friends from all over the world have contacted me, and we all remember what a strong and powerful woman you were. You were the best female actress in ISKCON. I have so many fond memories of growing up and doing plays with you when I was younger. You always made sure your daughters were well taken care of. You taught me to be strong and independent, and to never be dependent on a man. I wish we had done more in the past few years. I am glad I got to take you to the springs and spend time with you. I loved cooking for you and all kinds of goodies that you could eat according to your diet. So many things are left unsaid. I want to tell you that I appreciate what a great devotee you were. You set a very good example for us. This life has not been an easy one for any of us. You struggled to raise 3 kids on your own. You wanted to preach and spread Lord Chaitanya's movement, and instead had to take on the role of a mother. Having children was somewhat of a burden to you, but you turned that into devotional service. You would have made a great sannyasini. I hope you were dancing and singing with Krishna in the spiritual world. May all your sins be washed away in the holy Jamuna River, where Krishna and the cowherd boys played. May your soul be free from birth, death, disease, and old age. Your children will all come out stronger, and we will strive to make you proud.
Wow.
I love you and miss you. Thank you for being my mata. With love, Gandhari.
Wow.
Wow.
Actually, Gandhari and Draupadi, they composed this together. Draupadi's a little shy side.
That reminds me of something that she told me many years ago. She told me that in her astrology it said that she will get liberations through her kids.
Oh.
That because of her kids, she will get liberation. So that was, they became nice devotees too, and they appreciated what she was doing. So, and it worked.
Yeah. One thing that, Ruchira is? Ruchira,
Ruchira.
I practice what? Ruchira? Ruchira. So Ruchira and Shiladitya and Sukada and several ladies, when you said surrounded by her god sisters, were there. And they explained that the atmosphere was very much like Vrindavan. She was leaving, they had all the holy paraphernalia was there, and they just really felt like it was Vrindavan. Special thing.
She had a dream that she shared with me and she shared with Karta. So I'll remember what I remember, and Karta can fill in other details.
Okay.
But apparently when she was to have her children, her babies to be born, I think she was in the hospital and she had some vision or dream some demon coming. And then all of a sudden, Lord Sringadev appeared or roared, and the demons vanished. So after the two girls were born, she wrote a letter to Prabhupada, and it could be in the database, this letter. And Prabhupada wrote back to her and said that Lord Nrsimhadev has saved you and saved your children. Now you raise them to be good Vaishnavas.
Whoa.
So she did that. Do you remember anything?
That's exactly what you told me.
Mahendra, do you have any memories of Chaitanya?
Frankly,
You
in
were
12 years in LA,
Yeah.
I think I might have had 4 or 5 verbal exchanges with Chaitanya Dasi. I always admired her voice and her acting.
Yeah.
She was, I think, along with Prajapati,
Yeah.
they were the 2 professional actors there. Everybody, all the rest of us were hackers.
We were what?
Hackers.
Okay.
She was quite the actress, and her voice was heavenly.
Yeah.
And just extrapolating from that message from her daughters, and hearing about the daughters, and also hearing about Dhruva, how he's dedicated to taking care of his dad. I mean, that is such a, she did such a wonderful job at that, raising the children. As
And
Shri
Dhruva,
Bhagavad-
when he was in that accident, which we all know about, we were in Puri actually, and so the doctor had reached her, and they said no flights out. Chaitanya Dasi went right in there, and she got out that night. And he was in a coma for a month, and every night she was sleeping on the floor. She played mridanga, harmonium, and the doctors said, and sang for Dhruva. And the doctors actually said he came out of his coma due to her love and this vibration. He said this sound, because of this sounds, very healing, and it brought Dhruva out. But he never really was this thing. He was an expert sculptor when he was small. But he experienced many, many problems. She was constantly taking him to hospitals and clinics and this and that. But she gave him a sense of caregiving for his father. And so he's taken that up. And Rakshana is not an easy person. He's kind of like, if you know anybody who has Alzheimer's, or you've helped somebody till the end, it's a very difficult sacrifice.
He's done a real big job there.
Yeah.
What I remember mostly is the 80s, 79, 80, 81, when Bruce and I were in Los Angeles. She was always around there at the Green Building. I was Rameshwar's secretary for some months, and of course we lived there. She was she was always talking to someone. That's what I remember. She was always finding someone to talk to and kind of release. She was releasing a lot of emotion, a lot of problems she was going through. And just like what I read later on, that's what it was like. She just liked to talk. Just like to talk her way through things.
Prophylactic for her.
Yes.
Sankirtan devotee. Yes.
Yes.
Sukada. Okay. All right. A few of the ladies here didn't want to be called upon, but so
I met Chaitanya Dasi in 1976 when my husband and I moved to Los Angeles, and to be honest, I was always a little intimidated by her. She seemed to be a little scary because she had this fiery personality, and she always walked and talked with a purpose, and sometimes she put so much energy into her talking that it came out very strong. And for me, sometimes I would kind of move away a little bit because I didn't know which direction that was going to go in. I mean, I think it was just her normal voice that she was talking in. But at the time, early on, I didn't quite know her. She put on the puppet shows.
Oh, yeah. And even personally for Prabhupada, one of them.
Los Angeles. And then we had our children were in the Gurukula. So we knew each other through that.
Yeah.
When Sukita mentioned about walking and talking, I don't think I ever saw, except in a play perhaps, I don't think I ever saw Chaitanya Dasi walk slowly. It was always with purpose. He was on a mission all the time.
One pointed.
Yes.
With her
No,
fan. They always had a fan. She was always
Did you
looking.
have? Did you or and Paulina? Who else? Srisha.
I don't remember when I met her. If she was with Kanapriya and if they came through Laguna Beach, is that possible? I might have connected at that point. But my husband and my two daughters and I were in Berkeley, and we wanted to move back to Los Angeles, but we couldn't find a place to live. And for some reason, we were in contact with her, and she had a place. Rakshana lived underneath, and there was a garage in the back of the house. It was on Kelton Street, and she lived up top there. And I remember she contacted us and said, "You can have my place. I'm moving." I guess she was moving to Temple Apartments. This was like 78, 79. Anyway, so we moved in. We never told the landlord. You know what I mean? Like that she moved out and we moved in. But in that sense, she was very kind to me. You know, I know she was a very strong woman. I appreciated that. She was very she told you how she thought it was. I appreciated that. But the fact that she went to the effort to help us find a place when we couldn't find one, and then she said, "Take my place." So
Yes, very kind.
very, yeah.
I took
Not
care
many
of,
people were doing that for each other at that time.
No, right.
So
I took care of my mother for 18 years, and in the last 5 years, she was an invalid, and it was very difficult changing her diapers, feeding her, bathing her. And Chaitanya used to drive. I lived in High Springs with my daughters, and Chaitanya would drive almost every other day from Alachua, which is what, like a 30-minute drive, right? And just give me support, how are you doing, can I help out in some way? Just kind of, it's going to be okay, you'll get through this, and like that. And very consistent with that. Remember we used to have this here, we used to have these Vrindavan show and tells at my house. We'd sit in a circle like this. My mother was in a wheelchair. That was when Sunita was alive. And she'd come and make samosas for us, which was Sunita was known for her samosas. And her secret was she'd put a little bit of lemon juice. She finally told us at the end. And we'd all bring something. Did you come to those, Pranada? We'd all bring something from Vrindavan that we had, like how we used to say a little dust or a little twig or a leaf. And we would talk about that. And she always came to those. And she had just a great aspiration for wanting to either live in Vrindavan or live in Jagannath Puri, but her health she just couldn't do it. Her last wish, actually, we fulfilled it yesterday. She wanted to come back to Vrindavan and stay with me again and do one more Jamuna Kirtan boat ride. We kind of made them famous. Krishna and all of us, they used to live here, and we did. She wanted to do it one last time, so we got to fulfill that last wish. Pranada, you have some memories.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with Chaitanya Dasi in the last few years of her life. Mostly it was commiserating about difficulty of children and wanting more for them in their Krishna consciousness. And the body that was failing all the time. She was in a lot of pain. And yeah, we would do a lot about our sons because Dhruva, from this accident, really is not okay in his mind. So, and I have a very difficult son. So we would kind of gotta make sure you're okay yourself and don't give yourself away because this person needs to be taken care of and you have to take care of yourself. So we would try to support each other in that ongoing process, which is very challenging actually, to know what your boundaries are for your own spiritual life and how you can help them, but know that you can't do everything for them. And that was very difficult for Chaitanya. And then as her health was failing more and more, we did some I was able to find her some work here and there because she was quite poor and living at the Alachua apartments in a government subsidized apartment. And pretty much toward the end, she was like alone a lot.
Yeah.
And there were kind of rifts with the daughters here and there. They would come over. Really.
Facebook really was her saving grace for
For a
association.
while. Yeah. And we would, whenever we would make it to the temple at the same time, which wasn't often, we would kind of like acknowledge this is not an easy, it's not an easy journey, but we're trying. And she would very gently play the kartals as close to the altar as she could. And she didn't use her voice very much in the last few years, although she had a very high voice. She was able to reach very high notes. She would just, very quietly use her kartals and her singing close to the altar, especially Krishna Balaram's altar. And then toward the end, she was, had to come with a walker. It was harder and harder for her to come to the temple. But when your body is suffering to that degree, then you're wrestling with your mind about your Krishna consciousness and how do you practice and how do you see it and how do you transcend it. And so that we had a lot of conversations like that, which were meaningful, I think, to both of us. Yeah. I first met her in Los Angeles in 1975. I thought she had the 3 girls then. Maybe she only had the 2. I thought she had the 3 girls.
Yeah, she had 3 girls.
Quite a sight to see. She was
Mirabai. She came later, but later than 75?
Well, I don't remember the third one in 75.
Maybe not, but yeah.
That's right.
Well, there's an 8-year, let's see, there's a 7 or 8-year difference.
Yeah, right.
So maybe it was
But
like.
she was very striking because she's blonde, very very beautiful,
Blue eyes.
really piercing blue eyes.
Piercing.
And then these 2 gorgeous daughters. So it was like this goddess with their little goddesses. It was, but we didn't spend time then because I was doing Sankirtan and she was raising her family. It was more in the Alachua that we spent a lot together.
Panchagota, did you have any interaction?
I can say something. I remember first meeting her in Alachua, and I always thought she had a presence about her, like an older devotee who was part of the community, and just you could see that she had a lot of strength and experience. I saw her in Vrindavan here. I remember her playing kartals. You don't even see so many ladies playing kartals like that, but she was enthusiastic, and of course I appreciated her determination, because most ladies are a little bit, shy or humble. Not that she's not, but she's out. She'll tell you how it is. I remember I saw her again in Alachua after Vrindavan, and I asked her how she was and how things were going. So just seeing one another and the family moving along in life, and especially here in Vrindavan, we see so many people coming and leaving. It's a sobering, awakening situation. It's very nice that we're organizing some time to remember and appreciate her sacrifice and struggle. We're all making some sacrifice and struggle to serve Prabhupada, keep it in the family, and despite the difficulties, we continue on. So many difficulties are there. So I'm proud that she had that kind of strength to continue on.
She never been qualified, always kept her going. She would go, so many blah, 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 blah. Remember Kusha? We used to talk about, if there's any, if we were struggling or something, but Chaitanya Dasi, it just made our struggles look really small. All of us had.
Krishna really loved her.
I know.
He really, really gave her.
Because how does the verse go? If Krishna really loves you, what's the verse? And he gives you extra struggle or extra.
Takes everything away.
Takes everything away.
He loves you so much. He takes everything away.
I know, I never get that.
It becomes your only shelter. It was her only shelter.
Yes.
That's why that was her strength.
Yes.
She could do it, so that's what he did, So she got the proper result, I'm sure.
That's right.
So Kusha,
She
we
worked
used to
through it.
talk about her struggles that she was the queen, and we just like, and we would always try to send her different and live and encouraging, right?
We were all the Puri girls.
Yeah.
We
had a thing
there's a
with
certain group of us,
Yeah.
that are really attached to Jagannath Puri, so we have a special camaraderie together, and we share that Jagannath Puri bhav. I spent the last time I actually physically saw her, she was weeping in my lap, weeping, just weeping like
Here in Vrindavan.
in Vrindavan. And I was just stroking her head, and it was about her son. And but it's like these moments, as painful as they are, there's some element of intense Krishna consciousness they have. And that exchange that we had was so precious, even though it was filled with just so much angst.
Yeah, thanks.
So much angst. But she had so much emotion and bhav in her that you never at any time had to wonder what she was thinking. You knew. She told you. She was the most probably straightforward person, maybe besides Govinda Dasi.
Maybe there's a match.
Perhaps a match. I would like to see them clash. But the intensity of her bhav and her ability to emote for Krishna and always philosophically wrap it up in surrender to Krishna was really like a shining beacon for all of us, because we would always say, yeah, but what about Chaitanya Dasi?
And then all of a sudden,
we haven't suffered as much as Chaitanya Dasi.
Yeah. Anna, we could, excuse me, but the Bhagavad-Gita class will start in about 10 minutes, and they usually set up. Did you get her offering to work?
You can try. I just wanted to say one thing. I had one nice interchange with her, because her daughter and Admirama were first boyfriend, girlfriend.
Oh, really? Which one?
Mira.
Oh, Mira.
Yeah, so we had this sweet little motherly thing going on between us and our children.
Right.
So there was some nectar,
She was so determined that she told everyone, she said, I am not going to live until I'm 70.
Wow.
Well, okay.
Wow,
I am
but
not doing it.
I think she
She
was
was 69.
Oh, really?
And she
I
didn't.
thought she was 71.
I don't think
Oh,
so.
thank you for clarifying.
No, I don't think so.
Maybe she missed a couple months.
I was sure, because I remember when she turned it. You're sure?
I'm pretty sure.
She was a March person or something.
Okay. I
Yeah,
just
you're
remember
right.
somebody else turning the big 70.
Yeah.
The whole big deal. Yeah. So we'll try to end our beautiful gathering here with.
I believe she told me she was born in 1950.
50.
Yeah.
Is that what
she's
makes
not
her?
70.
68.
It was in Facebook over the last maybe 3 or 4 years.
So that
Actually,
she's,
when we got to know each other a little better, but just on Facebook.
no, she was 67 on the last.
We exchanged quite a bit on Facebook.
Yeah.
Get the cards.
Yeah.
One last remembrance is that the great famous Indian singer Lakshmi Shankar, she came to LA and heard Chaitanya Dasi and accepted Chaitanya Dasi as her student, and she would brag about Chaitanya Dasi as my student.
This personal thoughts are very.
So Lakshmi Shankar thought highly of Chaitanya.
It's on YouTube.
every time they had a
Yes.
How
program
would you
with
find it?
Subramanian and Lakshmi Shankar would come, Chaitanya Das was, and also Subramanian.
Chaitanya
They were
Dasi.
sitting
Get
right
it on
on
YouTube and you'll find
Yeah.
it.
and accompanying her.
Chaitanya Dasi, no H.
If you were, it's unfortunate we can't hook it up. A little bit. Is that her? Is that her speaking? I don't know. I don't know.
What's that?
The speaker up here, apparently. Up here.
Sure.
There's too much room.
But they're gonna start the Gita class. Don't push it too late.
We should just watch it at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
At last, I'm Oh, there's people on here.
We have 8 more minutes before the class starts.
Oh.
Watching monkeys plays as you need to write instead, you chose to follow the instructions of your guru, and with great determination, you set out to travel and preach in the most degraded place in India, known as the materialistic West. Suffering 2 heart attacks, you could have given up, yet you were filled with strength, courage, determination, and faith. With the blessings of Buddha and Krishna, you continued on to save the human race. Always remember Krishna sitting there in your heart. You came to disseminate his words of absolute knowledge before you soon depart. Teaching, you are not this body, you are pure spirit soul. Your life is eternal, and bhakti-yoga is the nature of your soul. With a few pennies in your pocket, not having any friends, you were determined to fight against mind's battle, headed by evil, karma, and sin. Armed with a torchlight of knowledge, and Bhagavad-Gita as it is, you had full faith in knowing surely you would win. In Boston Harbor you did land, spreading Mahaprabhu's mission to every woman, child, and man. Never doubting Veda Vyasa's word, you were armed with a trunk full of weapons. Srimad Bhagavatam, your mighty sword. Sitting in a park full of pigs, businessmen and dogs, the sweet beam of Govinda emanating from your lips. The pure transcendental sounds vibrating from your tongue. Lord Chaitanya's Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
接收带出来。